Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, still just messing around here at the tail end of the Duelist Cup. Worth noting, because I haven't had people ask yet. I assume most people from past Duelist Cups kind of know my stance on this, but for those who are wondering if I did take on the second stage, I did not. I'm generally not a fan of the idea of that style of a grind. It's also why I've not gone super hard into rating duels, even though I do think the inclusion of rating duels at the end of Master 1 is a good thing for a Master Duel. It does give people the sort of incentive to rank up to Master 1, and I think the really nice thing is that it also gives Master 1 a place to still get that competitive back and forth games, the desire for that, because of course before, you know, Master 1 was just like, a lot of people would just concede if they, you know, or if their opponent had a hand trap, or if they went second, or sometimes they'd go first and just concede right off the bat because they didn't like their hand. So I do think that is an overall good change for the game. The Duelist Cups, however, I'm not as big a fan of. Notably, I just wish there was another way to potentially qualify for the Worlds Championship. I dislike generally playing the that style of format myself. I just generally don't have the time for it, what with, you know, real life obligations and responsibilities. And even on top of that, it's like, I really don't think it's like healthy to play any video game or any game in general, or do any, there's not many activities you can do for 72 hours straight and that actually be like a healthy thing to do. So you know, I'm not saying that there is no skill involved in, you know, the climb. I'm not saying it's all about just who puts in the most time. I certainly don't necessarily think that at all. But I do just, again, wish there was another way to qualify through, like, tournaments and stuff, like Challenger Cups. I think that would have been cool. But anyway, moving on from that, the main point here is that I decided to just mess around with some more Adventure Synchron, again, at the tail end of the Duelist Cup. As I mentioned in the last video, I am still going in it. I have a couple of those, like, 10 gem missions left over, so you know, I figure it's better to chip away at that, I guess, than just duel on regular ranked ladder. Again, I guess I could be climbing to Master 1, but I don't know. It's like, what, the 28th already at the time I'm recording this, and I really don't think I'm gonna get there in those few days, but I'm not really concerned about it at all. It's not really that big of a deal to me. But yeah, I'm just rocking this regular Adventure Synchron build here again. I did, of course, test out that Snake Eye Super Heavy build that is similar to the ones that we saw in previous Duelist Cups, just minus this Fairy Tale Snow, Harpies stuff, a lot of those kinds of special packages there. But I don't know, I just like Adventure Synchron more. Like, I've seen some people, some Synchron players kind of say like, oh, this is like an outdated build. And I don't necessarily think that at all. I think this build performs very, very consistently and very well. This is one of those decks where, like, even though it looks big and flashy and you're like, okay, well, you have a big flashy turn one combo, like, going second must be a struggle. I actually just, I don't mind going second with this deck at all. And in fact, we're going to see games going second here. At least one game in particular, the first duel we're going to watch, is a very, very good example of how well this deck can play, you know, on average going second, right? So, but yeah, still rocking the same kind of 50 card build here. I don't really know that there's anything I would want to, like, take out of this build. I think if I were going to make changes to this moving forward, I would potentially add cards. Like, one card I was kind of thinking a little bit about is, like, Crossout. Even though we can't hit, like, every single target, like, if I went up to 60, you know, it wouldn't, I don't know. I would need to think about ratios too, is the thing. Because if I were to go up to 60, it'd probably need to include more cards like Crossout, some Effect Veilers, potentially an Imperm or two for the Crossout, that kind of a thing to not only have hand traps, but also protection against them. But at the same time, if I'm going up by 10 more cards, you know, then we do have to consider that more engine would be necessary as well. As far as more engine goes, there is still more stuff that we could be playing. As always, as ever, there is the Synchro Overtake, which gives us more access to the Jet Synchron. We would have to commit the Jet Warrior to the extra deck, but that's not really that big of a deal, honestly. That said, I don't know, I am looking at the extra deck here, and I somewhat struggle to see what I would take out for Jet Warrior. It'd probably just have to be Shen Shen, but I've actually summoned Shen Shen in a couple of games, including one of the ones that we're going to see here. So, I feel like, yeah, every single card in this extra deck has had application for me at some point. I think the next most cuttable card is Dawn Dragster, but again, this card has been very, very good for me. Just having another negate you can add to the end board, especially one for specifically a spell trap card, is pretty valuable, because usually we see the monster negates and then Omni negates, and usually I like to prioritize Omni negates. One of the best ways to bait out an Omni actually is to, like, if your opponent has an Omni negate and a monster negate, like, I don't know, let's say it's Sword Soul, they have the classic, like, Chi Shao Baron, right? One of the best ways to bait through plays is to, like, use a spell or a trap card to bait out the Baron, then use either another one for disruption on your opponent's board, because now they can't negate spell or trap cards anymore, or do multiple monster effects, because now they only have one monster negate, right? So being able to have another spell trap negate is actually particularly valuable for that reason, on top of the Omni negate, because it means that in a lot of situations, you don't have to commit your Omni as early. So again, having the Dawn Dragster on the end board there is extremely valuable. Let's see. As far as other engine stuff, I don't know. Because that's the other thing too, right? You still need to get them out of non-tuners. So I guess if I were to go up to 60, I might actually end up slightly expanding on the Snake Eye engine anyway. Because as I alluded to in that last video where we played Snake Eye super heavy, you know, synchron stuff, the Stardust Synchron being a level 4 tuner plus the level 1 non-tuner bodies is of course highly relevant for making level 5. 5 of course being one of the most important levels you want to make here. I will say this, as far as like just other stuff I'd like to add to the extra deck as well, even beyond like Jet Warrior, I have kind of been wanting another like decent level 8 synchro to go into, like a good end board piece. Not Borland, obviously, because we're not playing Link monsters, but like something that has like a negate or a good protection effect. Because there have been a lot of situations where like I'm trying to combo with what I have left, and I really want to go for a level 8, but you know, I've used all the ones because we really only have the 3, right? And the Stardust we're always going to go into with the Excel, so it's like there's not too many options there, but so maybe another one would be good. So. Alright, yeah, the build is the same as it's been, so no need, I feel, to break down the list here. Let's just go ahead and start taking a look at some games. Okay, so for our first game here, I'm trying to remember, actually, what do we play against? I'm pretty sure this is our going second game, so we do have quite a few nice little back and forth duels here. Okay, this is, yeah, our going second game we're going to start off with. I believe it's, I guess we'll see here in a moment. It's on the tip of my tongue, though. Oh, yeah, of course, Rescue Ace, so... yeah, they're going to lead with the field spell and then the 1-for-1 here. I'm going to go for the Maxi on their 1-for-1. I thought it was kind of interesting that they're playing 1-for-1, because I don't feel like this is like as typical in Rescue Ace nowadays, but it is still, I guess, a fine starter, because you could, in theory, add Airlifter and then go combo off here. But looks like here they're going to grab the Turbulence, or not the Turbulence, the Preventer, set 1, and then pass over to me. So we, at the minimum, have to deal with the Book of Moon effect, so there is that. Okay, so one thing to note here, before we start going too far into this game, right? So, the Stardust Trail, when that was summoned, right, my opponent got passed priority, then it briefly passed over to me, and then it passed back over to them. And I've talked about this before, but if you ever see something like that happen, especially if your monster has like an on-summon effect and your opponent gets past priority, then the game asks you if you want to activate the effect. That is almost always a telltale sign that your opponent has a Solemn Judgment or other counter trap card that can negate a summon, or just a card that can negate a summon in general, right? So I noted that here, and I was like, Solemn in Rescue Ace, it's a little off what you would normally expect, but it's not a horrible idea to potentially protect your back row, I guess, from like board wipes and stuff, so maybe that's what they were going for here. Either way, I knew I now had to play through a Solemn as well as the Preventer moving forward here, so I'm going to use the Rev Synchron with the Trail in order to go for the Black Rose Dragon. This card is exceptionally helpful going second in a lot of situations exactly like this. Sure enough, they do have the Solemn. They're going to use that on the Black Rose here, of course, to stop the board wipe. Alright, now here's Bonfire for Poplar. And here, we're going to see one of the many reasons why I like this engine so much more than just playing Synchro Overtake. Because the goal of both playing Poplar and Bonfires, as well as the Overtake, is that you want to get the Jet Synchron on the board. But What the Poplar does that's really, really nice is that it adds a body along the way. Again, a level 1 non-tuner body that could potentially be used with the Stardust Synchron. Here, however, we're not using it with the Stardust Synchron to synchro, we're actually tributing it to advance our plays. It's, again, one of many things you can do with this extra body. And I think the extra body of the Poplar, like, I am at the point where, like, again, I do think Synchro Overtake is a good card, but for me personally, I think Bonfire and Poplar is just better. For, again, the extra body here. So useful. So, Trail, Synchron, and Poplar all get to activate their effects. This is also why I led with Normal Summon Trail. Not only was it the level 4 non-tuner body needed to make Black Rose Dragon, but now I get to proc it when I extend into the Stardust Synchron here. Alright, now that the Poplar is in the Spell Trap, I can still send it off for the OSS and get my Jet Synchron. Now I'm going to sync it with the Stardust Trail for the Junk Speeder, and now we are off to the races here. Gonna chain block the Junk Speeder effect with the Jet Synchron Search, just in case they have like an Ash Blossom they've been holding here. Gonna grab that Junk Servant as well as the bodies from the Junk Speeder. Now my other Jet Synchron's in hand, so I don't get to special it, but I shouldn't need it to be able to combo out from here anyway. Gonna pivot into the Excel Stardust, using the effect to bring back the Jet Synchron to my graveyard. That lets me tune it with the Junk Servant on my field in order to be able to go into the Hyper Librarian, which will be the fuel for our combo line here. Gonna tribute the Excel Stardust to go for our Stardust Dragon, and then from there, the plan is to sync it into probably Crimson Dragon here. Oh, no, I went into the, I think I actually went to Dissipator, which is a bit of a misplay. A little bit of one. It's not gonna matter too much. Especially because I think my opponent concedes right here. Yeah. But what I actually should have done is not even made a 10. What I should have done is gone into the Crimson Dragon. That way I could have added the Synchro Rumble, and then I would have been able to bring back the Stardust Dragon, then make Baron anyway, and then Crimson Dragon into the Dissipator. That would have maxed out, like, good bodies as well as draws. But as you can see, the opponent conceded here. But also, as you can see, that is a pretty good way, excuse me, that is a pretty good way to end up playing through, a pretty sizable board. Sorry. The Rescue Ace cards are coming for me! They're pissed! No, but, yeah, no, I think it's a pretty good way to play through some negates there, right? Like, I guess our opponent's board wasn't, like, the most sizable, but still having to play through the Solemn and the Preventer is quite a bit, especially for a high-level combo deck like this, right? So, by high level, I mean just, like, lots of summoning, but the thing about that kind of combo deck is that it really needs to have a solid footing to get its plays going, and here we had to make our own, but it wasn't too hard. So, anyway, let's go and check out these other games. Okay, so I actually think we do have another going second game here, and if I recall correctly, both of our remaining duels will show one of the main features of this particular iteration of Synchron, which is to synchro summon a Junk Speeder that is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So, yeah, we're going second here. Oh yeah, against Galaxy, that's right. So, they started by normal summoning the Photon Orbital. I actually thought about chaining Maxi, because I was pretty sure that some of their extenders relied on them, like, you know, controlling photon monsters and stuff, but I ultimately decided not to. This is going to be one of those games where I actually hold off on Max C for a little bit to get my opponent to commit more to their board, right? Because if I had Max C'd after the normal summon of Photon Orbital, like, yeah, that's a pretty bad position for them, but they also still have a lot of cards left over in hand that they could, like, maybe have hand traps stop me and then just pick up their play on the next turn. So basically, I'm going to make them use more of their engine and then Maxi to punish them a little into the combo instead of before it begins, right? So, yeah, they're going to go for the rank 4 here. And then when the rank 4 activates its effect to special the Photon Dragon, now I'm going to Maxi. Because this commits, like I said, it commits a pretty important combo piece to Photon Dragon to the board here. Like, if they want to keep playing, that's fine, I'll keep drawing, but they don't. And then now they end up in this spot where, again, they're just going to kind of have to pass here, but now they're going to lose out on more stuff. They only have 2 cards left in their hand, so... plus, a deck like ours should be able to deal with a board like this relatively easily, but it's actually not going to be quite as easy as I thought, for reasons we'll see here in a bit. Alright, didn't exactly need the Jet Synchron here, but it's also not, like, the worst draw in the world, I guess. I'll just normal summon it, and then Feetful F for the Dracovac. Let's see, you're gonna grab the Wandering Griffin Rider here, of course. Gonna do adventure stuff, setting up the Draco back. And then going for the Griffin Rider summon. Alright, now here we're gonna show you how to summon that unaffected Junk Speeder. First, we're gonna sync for the Assault Stardust, or Excel Stardust, rather. Excel Stardust is gonna bring back the Jet Synchron. We also get the Jet Synchron effect to search here as well. I like chain blocking the Excel Stardust in case of, well, I guess I couldn't Gamma here, but in general, I like to chain block it that way for Gamma, so. Alright, so now we're going to tribute Excel Stardust for the effect, but always a good reminder that you don't actually have to use the Stardust to Synchro Summon. I'm going to use the Jet Synchron and the Adventure Token, and even though we didn't use the Stardust to summon it, it was still summoned by the Excel Stardust effect, meaning it is unaffected here, so. Now, in order to make room on your board, I like to go for the Crimson Dragon first. This also lets you get the Synchro Rumble really early, which you are going to need to make your Stardust Illumination summon the trail from the deck instead of just sending it. Now you can special the Junk Servant. You have to do that while Speeder is still on the field, and then go into Hyper Librarian, again, as early as possible to make sure you're getting as many draws as possible. Now, from here, I decided to just kind of continue the way I would normally do it on turn 1 anyway, going for the Omega, and doing the hand rip there, as well as, of course, getting the draw from that Hyper Librarian. Now, unfortunately for me, the card I ripped was actually another copy of Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, which means that Starliege gets to use its last effect to special summon it. That is going to make this board a little more difficult to break through, especially considering that the Starliege also protects the monsters from being targeted or destroyed by card effects, and then also the Orbital is protecting this from being destroyed by battle, so a lot of protect. And then, of course, on top of that, there's also the Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon's effect itself, which I actually totally forgot about this, and we'll see that here in a little bit. But I should have remembered because I watched the Zaxel anime, so. But anyway, yeah, using the Crimson Dragon to go into the Bestial Dissipator there. Gonna go for the tuning for the Assault Synchron. I kind of thought about summoning it later. Maybe not even just for Synchroing, but just for sacking to summon back the Stardust Synchron. Alright, so we get this draw. Of course, Trail F will summon the token here. What I really needed here was one more non-tuner. It kind of didn't even matter what level it is, because I really wanted to go into a Trishula, but I ended up settling for the Shen anyway. Oh, I remember, yeah, because I was like, I can Shen and then just make Crimson Dragon again and then go for Trishula. And then I remembered after I summoned Crimson Dragon, of course, like, oh yeah, that's only once per turn. I would have to summon the Trishula during my opponent's turn, which, like, I don't know, wouldn't be bad, but we could also just at that point summon the Majestic Star Dragon. So, yeah, I really should not have gone for the Crimson Dragon here, but yeah, just gonna use Bestial Dissipator to bring back the Omega. We did blow up that Orbital with Baron earlier, so now the Starliege can be destroyed by battle. Gonna battle over the Starliege with the Omega. Dissipator is going to battle into Photon. At this point, I was like, oh yeah, Photon can, what does it do? It banishes. Banish both this card, return them to the field at the end of the battle phase, and if it succeeds monster, yeah. So they banish them until the end of the battle phase. So I'm gonna Baron this Photon Dragon, right? And then I'll battle the other one. I'll activate. I'll Dissipator. I actually clicked the wrong one here. I meant to put back my own monster to blow up the Photon Dragon, not theirs to negate it. Because not only does that not let me go for lethal, but also now they can just use the effect again. However, using the effect again actually let me go for lethal anyway because of the Assault Synchron in my graveyard, which I did not plan this at all. Like, that was a really cool way to end the duel, but it was not intentional. I'll be the first one to tell you that. So, but still a nice little wrap up to the game there. All right, we have one more we're going to take a look at. Let's finish off with that one. All right, going into our last duel here. This should be a going first game. I'm fairly certain of it. But let us see what we've got. Yep, all right. Yeah, this hand is pretty good. We have access to Diabel, which means we also have access to Jet Synchron. Oh, and then with the Faithful Adventure, we can get the Adventure Token, which, yeah, that'll get us a full combo here. That's the nice thing about the Adventure Engine for this deck, is that you don't actually necessarily need all of it. You mostly just need the level 4 non-tuner body. When it comes to synchron decks, I've said this before about them, like, you would think it would be all about the tuners, right, to synchro summon your synchron monsters. It's the namesake of the deck, but knowing what non-tuners you can access actually ends up being the far more important factor every single time. Because you have so many tuners in this deck, you need to have, like, you have the opposite problems of what you would think synchro decks would have, right? Because you think of most monsters being non-tuners, so you would think the problem would be to get tuners, but in a deck centered around synchrons, where those cards are all very accessible, you're never wanting for tuners in this deck. It's why we play cards like Junk Servant, like the Diabell package, like the Adventure package, like Reborn Tengu. We need all of these cards that look kind of weird, going all in the same deck together, you know, to be able to make our plays. So, once again, as I said in the last game, this game we are going for another unaffected Junk Speeder. So, if they had Ash Blossom, Valor, Imperm, none of those would be able to stop our combo line here, which is always very, very nice. So, again, we're going to lead off by going into Crimson Dragon. I always begin my synchro sequencing off of after the Junk Speeder this way to maximize space here. So then we go for the Junk Servant, then go for the Hyper Librarian. This maximizes board space and it also maximizes draws as well. So, alright, now let's go for the level 8 Omega and start hand ripping. Again, maximizing on space because the Omega will banish itself and give us another open monster zone. We banished an Imseti there. It's Tearlaments, that's right. So, we'll see evidence for that here shortly. Gonna rumble back for the Stardust, Illumination for the Trail. Yeah, that's another reason to do it in this order, is because the Crimson Dragon grabs the Rumble, and then, yeah, you can do... Because you have to have the Stardust or a monster that mentions it in play to special off Illumination instead of just sending. So, we do want to summon the Trail. Alright, here's the Dissipator summon, another draw. Dissipator F, gonna bring back Omega. Omega, we're gonna hand her up another card, of course. This one's gonna be Supreme Seamare, if I recall correctly. Yes, so that's how I knew it was Tearlaments. Now here, I misplayed. I didn't necessarily, like, misplay by tributing the Dissipator, because I was planning on bringing it back by Assault Synchron. But what I misplayed in doing was I did things in the wrong order here. I needed to... Yeah, because by doing it this way... Like, okay, not only did I summon the Stardust Synchron too early, which, like, caused me to have to go into a weird monster like Dawn Dragster earlier than I normally did, because I had the lack of main monster space, because now my Dissipator was suddenly in a main monster zone instead of the extra monster zone. That was the main part of the misplay there, is the fact that Assault Synchron was going to bump it down, and that would eat up more room here. But on top of that, I also tributed via the Stardust Synchron effect before I got Trail into the graveyard. I needed to synchro with this and then use Stardust Synchron effect, because then Stardust Trail would come back by its own effect. So, that was like a whole sequence of minor misplays that kind of snowballed into one a little bit more of a major misplay. But even then, like, that's the thing that I like about this deck, or one of the very many things I like about it, is that, dang, I made a major misplay in my combo line. Now I'm only going to hand rip them for 2 and end with, like, you know, 7 cards in hand, instead of hand ripping them for 3 and ending with 10. It's like, once you actually start popping off with this deck, it's so absurd, the number of things you end up doing, that you can screw up pretty badly like I did here, and still have far more than enough. I mean, look at this. Our opponent's got 4 cards in hand. We have 3 negates on board. We have an Ash Blossom. We have a Call By, which I'm going to use on this Imseti here. It's a very, very good opportunity to do that. I think the other card they pitched was... I don't remember. What was it? Hang on. Fairy Tale Snow. That's right. I knew it was somewhat noteworthy, but yeah, not nearly enough cards here to make use of that. Gonna Ash Blossom the Rhino Heart. I don't know why I'm using all of my non-synchro negates first. I guess just, like, showing off to a degree. Being like, look at everything I had even without my negates on board. Like, yeah, I don't even end up needing Dissipator or Baron here. I'm just gonna Dawn Drags through the Thrust, and at this point my opponent's effectively conceding by running into my stuff, so that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, myself very much included, I think a lot of people are initially intimidated to try this deck because it looks very complicated, because the combo lines are so, you know, long and convoluted. And again, I very much felt that way going into playing this, but as you can see, you can screw up, and it's as long as you resolve Junk Speeder, it's almost assuredly gonna be fine. Like it probably just doesn't matter. So there we go. That is going to do it for both that duel and this video. Thanks as always for watching. Let us move to the outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.